Thomas Alva Edison was the inventor of the first talking machine of the world in July of 1877. And you see, the record is not ein Plattenspieler, nein, it is a cylinder made of wax. And the record is working at 160 revolutions per minute and is playing 4 minutes long. This record was made by the National Phonograph Company in Orange, New Jersey. At one time, I had over 15,000 cylinders. Next month, this phonograph will be half a century old. For 50 years, I've been turning its crank. In the Second World War, when the airplanes flew over Mahlsdorf and the bombs were coming down, I played British and American records. And I thought, they can hear in the airplanes that I am playing Edison records. And I thought, if they hear me, they will know I am their friend.
From the desk of John Marks, Bureau Chief, Berlin, U.S. News and World Report, September 1990. Dear Doug, it's a fun house over here. You can't imagine. The Berlin Wall falls and the world flips upside down. All the great and powerful leaders are turning out to be clowns. Erich Honecker, one of the most feared and respected dictators in the world, has in 1 year become a fugitive. He wanders around the grounds of a Soviet military hospital in his pajamas. Now, secret police files kept on East Germans for 4 decades are being released. Turns out, husbands spied on their wives, children on their parents, dissonance on each other. Now, in the midst of all this craziness, I have found a true character, and she is way up your alley. And believe me, I use the term she loosely. Now, I'd love to interview her, make her my first official article for U.S. News and World Report. But I'm afraid my editor will think her story's too extreme. But still, I think she may well be the most singular, eccentric individual the Cold War ever birthed. Have I piqued your interest? Love, John. Piqued? Indeed. August 8th, 1992. I've been in Berlin for 2 days now. I'm sleeping on John's floor. Today, we went to the Reichstag. There were demonstrations because Christo wants to cover it in pink tulle. Now we're in John's car. We're headed toward the east. Through the windshield, I can see fragments of the infamous wall still standing. Slapped onto one in bold paint, the words "Art survives." A sign whizzes past, Mahlsdorf. It's a grim place. Vast apartment complexes rise like cement gulags. Then we turn a corner and it's like we turn back the clock 200 years or more. Standing before us, a huge, weather-beaten mansion made entirely of stone. About 100 tourists gathered at the front door. Suddenly, with a creak, it opens. Willkommen in meinem Grundenzeit-Museum. Welcome to my Grundenzeit Museum. Here, people can always come to see my collection. Petroleum lamps und vases, gramophones, polyphones, pianolas, records, and of course, clocks. No matter what people want to see or hear, I'll show or play it. Some people say come to see me. Ich bin transvestite. But soon, they look at the furniture. Folk can see me a bit, yeah? This old door is not original. Nein, I saved it from my house on Prenzlau Street. Before the Russians blew up the houses, I took such things. She ushers us into the foyer of the museum. The ceilings are high, at least 15 feet. We're huddled together like school children. For the next 2 hours, room by room, object by object, she guides us through the house. Come in, please. There's room for everyone, yes? Now here, we have a cupboard. And this mobile stock is made of oak in the style of Neo-Renaissance. But this is not handmade, this is factory made, and so-called mass
production. And the trim. People would tear it off, they would burn it. Too old-fashioned, too difficult to dust, they would say. But me, I had a feeling for such things. And so I saved it. Now in French, this clock is called régulateur because it is regulating the time. In Deutsch, we say fresh finger. Of course, American soldiers saw that this was a nice gift to bring to the little wife at home, yeah? Now to find such a clock, you need a key. And I collected, when I was a child, many keys. Keys for desks, keys for doors, and I still carry all these keys in my apron. Now when families died, I became this furniture. When the Jews were deported in the Second World War, I became it. When citizens were burned out of their homes by the communists, I became it. I am like a maidservant in this house. You must clean and clean because the dust is growing and the dust is looking like the dust of 1890, and you must put it away. I've worked for 13 years with 2 hands to prepare this old house. Each tile on the roof, I know. Each plank on the floor, like an old lover. And now, you may make eine Spende, a small contribution. We have a cash box. Each person what he or she thinks. Yes? Thank you.
From the desk of Doug Wright, New York City. Dear Charlotte von Mahlsdorf, recently, while in Berlin, I visited your museum. My childhood friend John Marks and I were awestruck by your furniture collection and your astounding array of Edison phonographs. But I must confess, I was no less impressed by the mere fact of your survival. I grew up gay in the Bible Belt. I can only begin to imagine what it must have been like during the Third Reich. The Nazis and then the communists. It seems to me you're an impossibility. You shouldn't even exist. So here's the presumptuous portion of my letter. I would love the opportunity to continue to study your life in order to write a play about you. Now, with your support, I can apply for funding, fly back to Berlin, and begin to write in earnest. As far as grant applications go, forgive me, but from where I sit, you're a slam dunk. Even if you reject my proposal, please know that the morning you shared with us was one of the most memorable of my life. Thank you for your kind attention, and I look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Doug Wright.
Dear Mr. Light, yes, perhaps it is possible for you to make a play. Maybe you will visit Berlin after Christmas. Sincerely, Charlotte von Mahlsdorf. Yes! Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, tape 1, it's January 20th, 1993. I'm headed to the Grundenzeit Museum in Mahlsdorf for my first official interview with Charlotte von Mahlsdorf. With me, John Marks. John, if you could please, would you ask Charlotte about her given name, her legal name? Was war Ihre Geburtsname? Mein Geburtsname war Lothar. Lothar Berfelder. It was Lothar? Yeah, I got that. And next, could you ask her when she knew the precise time that her name ought to be Charlotte? Und wann wussten Sie, dass Ihr Name Charlotte hatte sein sollen? I can tell it in English, yes? Meine Tante Louise was working on an estate in East Prussia when she raised horses on a large farm. And since she was 15 years old, she never wore ladies' clothes. No, only boots and jappers, the clothes of a land inspector and not a fine lady. And so I was coming in August, in 1943 to East Prussia, and I found in her closet clothes. Girls' clothes. And I put them on. And I was standing there, and my aunt came into the room, and she looked at us in the mirror, und she said, weißt du, mit uns beiden hat die Natur sich einen Scherz erlaubt. Du hattest ein Mädchen werden müssen, und ich ein Mann. Did you know that nature has dared to play a joke on us? You should have been born a girl, and I should have been a man. And there was on the bookshelf a book. Meine Tante took this book down and handed it to me. Die Transvestiten by Magnus Hirschfeld. I felt a shiver down my spine. And meine Tante Louise said, read. In each person, there is a delicate balance of male and female substances, just as we can find two matching leaves from the same tree. It is scientifically impossible to find two human beings whose male and female characteristics match in kind and number. Read. And so we must treat those individuals who defy the ready classification of man or woman as an utterly natural phenomenon? Yes. Meine Tante Louise said, this book is not just any book. This book, it will be your Bible. Charlotte has just slipped into the kitchen to bring us some cafe und Kuchen. I brought a camera, but I'm too shy to ask her to pose. I'm afraid she'll think I've only come to gawk. So I wanted to record a quick visual, an impression. She's about 5'8", maybe 170 pounds, 65 years old. Doesn't look like a drag queen at all. No makeup. I asked her about that. She said she doesn't need it. And she's got piercing eyes, really smart eyes, and a sly little crooked smile. She still wears her own hair, white, goose feather white, cut in, I guess you call it a page boy. She's got on a black peasant dress, a string of pearls, and heavy black shoes, orthopedic shoes. She doesn't have breasts, not really, but just enough paunch to sort of enhance the impression. But her hands are big and thick. The hands of a woodworker, of a craftsman, definitely a man's hands. The last days of the World War was the most dangerous time for me, because I refused to carry a weapon or to wear a uniform. Berlin was destroyed. I was walking about. The houses were all broken, and the street was full of rubble. And there were coming Russian airplanes with the splatter bombs, so close you could see the pilot with the helmet and the goggles. Wherever you were standing, the splatter bombs exploded in the earth. Pieces went everywhere. There was no escape. And there was on the corner standing an air raid shelter, and so I went inside, and I was sitting there maybe half an hour, and I could hear the bombs. And the old building was shaking. And suddenly the door opened, and in came 4 SS officers, die Kettenhund. And they were looking for boys and men and old men which were hiding. And so they dragged me up to the police station. And I had to stand outside against the wall. The SS men were standing 4, maybe 5 meters away. All deserters shall be shot. I looked down. I didn't want to see them shoot. I thought, I'll wait until I feel it. But when I looked to the ground, I saw the boots of a commander. And he looked at me and he said, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And I thought, if they shoot me, what's the difference between a boy and a girl? Because dead is dead. I am a boy. How old are you then? 16. And he turned to look at the execution squad commander and he said, "Are we not so far gone that we have to shoot school children?" And that was my salvation. My dear Charlotte, I'm listening to our interview tapes every chance I get, on the treadmill, in the car. I've also started reading the works of Magnus Hirschfeld and studying German history since the time of William II. Still, all I can think about is the story of your life. You are teaching me a history I never knew I had. Thank you. Tape 7, Charlotte's boyhood. When I was a baby and then a little child. Can I interrupt you for a moment and play that back? I'm not sure. The batteries. Yes, of course. When I was a baby and then a little child. We're good. Go ahead. My father was a Nazi. And he was brutal. And he was for militarism. And my mother, she wanted to sich scheiden lassen, get a divorce. And my aunt said one day to me, if your father beat your mother once more, she could die. And my aunt and my father had a very hot discussion. And my aunt said, your wife really wants a divorce from you. And suddenly my father pulled out a revolver and pointed it at my aunt. And he said, one more word and I'll shoot you. But my aunt took her revolver from the desk and she said, I'll count to 3. So you better be out the door, otherwise I'll shoot. Und she said, 3. Und die Kugel durchschlug das Holz und Bleiben der gegenüberliegenden Tor steckten. The bullet went through one door and into the next where it lodged. And my father returned to Berlin. And then I asked my aunt. And she said, yes, of course. It's a shame I didn't kill him. A few weeks later, my father said to me, this is the hour I ask you. Do you stand beside me or your mother? Do you stand beside her or me? And I was 15 years old. And I asked him, aren't you ashamed of the way you've treated my mother? And he said, I'll shoot you down like a dog. And then I'll go to East Prussia and I'll shoot your mother and your sister and your brother. And I thought of the words of my aunt, and I know that my father would do this. He locked me in the bedroom by turning the key. Because it was war. I could hear the Allied bombs coming in the night. And then, under the bed, I saw such a large wooden utensil used to mixing cake. Wie sagt man, a rolling pin? And I thought, I can take this as a weapon. And the door was tightly locked, but I had in my pocket. Even then, I had keys. So I very carefully opened the door. It was very dark, except for a little moonlight which was shining. And I saw my father. He was lying on the sofa in the dining room, and his gun lay on the chair next to him. And I saw the chair, and I saw the pistol. And in that moment, the clock, we had a Westminster clock, and the clock was chiming. I saw my father's hand. He was reaching for his weapon, and in that moment, I began beating him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, And the next day, the criminal police came and they asked me for the motive, and I told them. And then I was arrested. And I was sentenced to the youth prison in Tegel, 4 years detention. And when they took me to the jail, my mother was there. And we looked at each other in the eyes. And we knew that we were finally free from the monster.
John, I'm in way over my head. To kill? Toten, toteta, hatke totet? Christ, this language doesn't make any sense. I'm still winding my way through detransvestitin. In some sentences, I can barely discern the verb. And the vocabulary I'm learning is, well, so specific. Yesterday, in German class, I made an ass out of myself. The teacher told us to make small talk. I froze. I couldn't remember a single phrase, so I blurted out a few new words I'd translated from the night before. Hi, ich bin Doug, und ich trage schwarze Spitzen und Wasche. Hi, my name's Doug, and I'm wearing black lace panties. The whole class just stared at me, except for this one guy named Morris who offered to take me shopping. Maybe I should try reading something else. Love, Doug. Beep. Sie haben die Wohnung von John Marks erreicht. Bitte hinterlassen Sie einen Nachricht nach dem Farbton. Beep. Are you there? Hello? Anybody home? Christ, pick up. Pick up, pick up, pick up. Huh? John? Doug? Listen, I've run out of grant money, so I'm canceling my May trip, but all is not lost. I've decided to sell my car. You ever heard of time zones? It's 4 fucking a.m. It's an 86 Honda Civic, and I think I can get about $3,000 for it. Now, that should finance at least a month overseas, maybe more. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're going to sell your car? Don't you think you're going a little loopy? John, don't you see? She doesn't run a museum. She is one. The rarest artifact she has isn't a grandfather clock or a Biedermeier tall boy. It's her. So please, if I come in June, can I still crash on your floor? Careful, you must watch the stairs. Today, you follow me at your own risk. I show you the secret of meinen Grunenzeit Museum. Charlotta's disappearing down a series of steps. I guess I'm supposed to go down after her. Christ, it's steep. Now we're in the basement of the house. It's dark. She's lighting a gas lamp. Holy shit, it's huge. There's an enormous bar made of oak, stocked high with glasses, liqueurs, and an ancient beer pump. Welcome to the Mula Gritza, an old tavern for the yesterday. The walls are very old. There are signs everywhere. Prostitution is strictly forbidden, at least according to the police. Tanzen ist verboten. Dancing is forbidden. But we had an old phonograph and we would dance in the back, yeah? Now this was a restaurant for gays and lesbians. And the owners wanted homosexuals because they didn't get drunk, they didn't fight, and they always had money to pay for the bill. Now at this very table sat Marlene Dietrich and the sexologist Magnus Hirschfeld. If I could, I would take an old gramophone and run it along the surface of the wood to hear the music of the voices, all that was said, yes? Now, Mina Malik, she was a barmaid, yeah? And in 1963, she came to me and she said, the Kommunisten, they want to close us down. Our history is decadent. We only have one day and then the bulldozers. And I thought, that is not good. So I bought the furniture for this museum here. And I hid it in meinen Keller.
And the next day, the Russians came, and the old bar on Mulakstrasse, they broke it down. And then came the wall. And for us here in Eastern Berlin, it was finished. Gay life. The bars, they were all closed. No place to meet, but the tramway stations and the public toilets. We were not supposed to exist. Persona non grata. So I thought to give homosexual women and men community in this house. And there was over the bar an attic, and you could go upstairs. 2 men, 2 girls, a boy and a girl, it didn't matter. And they could have the room to themselves for a few hours, whips and things to beat on the behind, yeah? And the communist secret police, the most feared government spies in all the world, were coming. And they were looking in the windows and they were saying, "What's this?" So what could I do? I painted all the windows black. When the wall falls, Charlotte tells me she had the only surviving Weimar cabaret in all of Eastern Germany, hidden in the basement of her house in Mahlsdorf, which she ran under the watchful eye of the Stasi for almost 30 years. On behalf of the Cultural Ministry of the Bundesrepublik Deutschland, it gives me great joy and honor in recognition of your astonishing efforts, your steadfast preservation of the Grundenzeit, and your timely rescue of the Mulak Ritzer. And I deliver unto you the Medal of Honor, a cross upon a ribbon. The day I received the medal was for me recognition of my work. And I thought, it's good, because other people see that a transvestite can work. If other people, heterosexual people, they look at the television and they read the newspapers and they say, he or she is able to work, yeah. They presented the award on national German television. Oh, Doug, I wish you could have been there. Picture an elderly man in a skirt and a string of pearls. Nobody laughed, no catcalls. And at the end of the ceremony, the cultural minister himself even leaned down to kiss her hand. Now, Charlotte, I heard in the 70s the Stasi came to you and offered to treat you very well if you would give the name and addresses of the people who frequented your museum. I heard they actually promised you a car. Is that right? Yes. And one day, they came, and one of the men said, "You have to sit down. Take a paper and a pencil, and I will dictate to you the following." He wanted me to write exactly what he said. I, Lothar Beerfelder, commit myself willingly to working with the Ministry for State Security. I will report all information to the state. I will be known by the code name Park. I pledge to keep this secret even from my friends and relatives. If I break this oath, I will be prosecuted according to the laws of the GDR. And you had to sign it. I signed it. And I said to myself, I still do whatever I want. Meine Tante Louise always said, be as smart as the snakes. It's in the Bible. She said, never forget that you are living in the lion's den. Sometimes you must howl with the wolves. Doug, listen up. The German press got its hands on Charlotte's Stasi file. She was an informant, all right, for 4 years in the mid-70s. It says she was willing, even enthusiastic. It even says she was responsible for an arrest, and not just anyone, a fellow collector, a friend. Now, the tabloids are having a field day. I've enclosed a few clippings. Charlotte von Mahlsdorf, sexual outlaw and Soviet spy. Comrade Charlotte,
Is the disguise she's wearing more than just a dress? Oh, John. I'll come back to Berlin as soon as I can. Even when I was a little child, no one wanted phonographs. Everyone said to me, it's so old-fashioned. They all wanted radios. But what did I want with a radio? To hear Hitler babble? No, thank you. That is the reason that even today, I don't have a radio or a television. For me, gramophones, polyphones, pianolas, I must truly say these machines gave me so much pleasure in my childhood. If I hadn't had them, I'm not sure I would have survived. Things were so ghastly with my father. Everything my mother and I went through. But the music would pour through the horn and make things better. The 17th of April, 1972. Dear Charlotte, I was dining at lunch when your note arrived. Today's the day I put aside to answer letters, and I thought, well, if I don't get any mail today, I'll just stop writing altogether. Then I'll die, lost and forgotten by the world. So it came in the nick of time. You urged me, don't give up. You're not forgotten. You never had hordes of friends, but so what? You always gave a little joy to people, and that's enough. But sweet sentiment, Charlotte. For your sake, I won't give up. And I'll live patiently for the day I'll be set free. At night, I wrap myself in blankets. I still have headaches, and dizzy spells. But I don't think it's the fault of prison conditions. I think it's just age. I've got so blind I can barely read. I just wander from one doctor to the next. You know, the dentist here is a real dictator. He plans to pull another one of my teeth. By the time you get this letter, I'll probably be nothing but gums. Alfred Sand's teeth is not a pretty sight. Please give your family my warm regards. Tell them I'm still the same old Alfred and I won't be beaten down. When I'm released, I know exactly what I'll do. I'll play my favorite old waltz on the piano, Strauss, probably. Then I'll put Frühlingskinder on the polyphone and I'll play that too. With a calliopic and symphonic farewell. Your Alfred.
Charlotte, I'm afraid for me, your Stasi file is an exercise in frustration. I've noticed repeated references to a fellow antique collector. Sometimes they use the word Kunsthandler, other times Samler, but whenever his actual name appears, it's been blacked out. Today, the informant Park had tea with blank. Park received a birthday card from blank. At 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon, Park telephoned blank. Now, I suspect blank was important to you. Otherwise, why would he merit inclusion in your file? Please, shed light if you can. I still have his birth certificate. Alfred Kirchner, born on the 1st of September, 1911. We became friends because it was a rainy day. I was walking about through the streets of Berlin, and I saw an antiquity shop. I didn't have money to buy old things. I only wanted to stay dry. And I saw Alfred, and he was looking at a polyphone. Do you own such a machine? Of course. I'm a collector. I've been a collector since my childhood. I am a collector since my childhood, too. Back at my house, just 2 or 3 blocks from here, I have about 15,000 records. Touché. I only have 12,000. And where do you live? In Mahlsdorf, across on the pig farm, near the paper factory. The weather is so awful today. Why not pay me a visit in Mulachstrasse? Mahlsdorf's a long way in this maelstrom. Mulachstrasse? That's where you live? What about it? Remember the old pub, the Mulach Ritzer? Now it's in my museum. I've heard of your museum and of you, but now I'm meeting you in the flesh. And so off we went to his apartment. He made some Kaffee mit Schluck und Kuchen, and we played a large polyphone. And it wasn't long before he said, "Look, in my private room." And I did. And there were records everywhere. And a breastplate from the Middle Ages. Of course, everyone knew that Alfred was a homosexual. Later, I'd visit his house. Sometimes there were homosexual men standing before his door like prostitutes. You can't visit Alfred now. He's got one or two men with him. Maybe you could come back later when he's done with his sexuality. No, I only wanted to swap gramophone records. Oh, you're a transvestite. And Jose cackled until Alfred opened the door to let me in. One day, Alfred bought a clock from a local antique dealer. He was headed home down Mulachstrasse, and he noticed that a motor car was following him. There were two army soldiers from the American base. One of the soldiers rolled down the car window. "Hey, can we buy that clock off of you?" "Not this one. It's mine. My mom said I couldn't come home without a clock. One of those Black Forest jobs, man, that looks sweet back in Terre Haute. I do have other clocks I'm willing to sell." "Oh, yeah?" And the soldiers went back to Alfred's apartment. "Take your pick." "Yeah, beautiful." "Yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll take two." At that time, in the 70s, people thought gaudy, old standing clocks were just old-fashioned junk. In Berlin, you could pick up a grandfather clock for maybe 50 marks. Very cheap. Shit. Sergeant Matheson paid twice that on the coup dam. Anyway, not long after that, Alfred came to me with a proposition. "People are always giving you clocks as gifts. Half the time you don't want them. It's the early 20th century, and that's too modern from your museum." "Alfred, what are you suggesting?" "I've got a friend named Edward. He's got an automobile. We can drive into the woods nearby some Saber's clocks in tow." "Yes, we'll sell a bundle right out of the back of the car." Sure enough, the American soldiers came as they looked into the back of Edward's car. Woof. Yeah, all right. These are damn nice. Why not buy them all as souvenirs to send back home? Hell, our car isn't big enough. Hey, we'll come back next week with a little bus. So we met them again the following week. "Hey, we're back." "Yeah, see, I told you." One of these dudes wears a dress. And into the bus, they put the clocks. And they prepared to drive back into Western Berlin. "Halten Sie bitte!" "Hey, they can't stop us. We're Americans, man. Wir müssen diesen Autobus inspizieren." "Sure, yeah, no problem. They want to check our bus." "Well, I'm not talking to them. You talk to them. Hey, they're fucking cuckoo clocks, man." "Sure, no problem." And they detained the soldiers for 7 hours. And they started keeping a list of all of our little sales. Some months later, Alfred heard a knock on the door. "We have reason to believe you're engaging in illegal sales with foreign military personnel. We hope, for your sake, we have made a grave error in judgment." Alfred came back to me. Naturally, I expected him to mint his face. "Lotchen, I have an idea. Why don't we sell the clocks out of your basement instead of the car?" "But Alfred, there's no other place in all of Eastern Berlin quite so secret." So Alfred brought the clocks around to my place, and we stashed them in the basement. There were 5, 6, 7, 8 clocks standing in the darkness like sentinels. And then, at midnight, Lawton opened the door. We're in terrible danger. But now, the Stasi came to my apartment. They tore through my desk. They found Western currency. Tomorrow, they're coming to see you. What can I do? I'll bolt the door. Save yourself, Lawton. Tell them the clocks are mine. Why should we both go to jail? I won't say such a thing. I can't. They'll force their way into your house. They'll go traipsing into your basement. They'll confiscate your polyphones or your pianolas. They'll auction off your entire collection in order to fill their own fat coffers. Your museum will be finished. Through. So when the Stasi came, yes, I have a colleague. Sometimes he sells clocks to American soldiers for a little extra money, yeah? No, I will not write down his name. That I will not do. You can't make me do it. I will say it. I will whisper it only. My dear Charlotte, I've been in jail for 1 week now. And the Stasi discovered that I was a homosexual. They feared that I might be labeled a mental defective and exempt from a trial. But at this institution, Dr. Kreinholz, may God damn him forever. He said that I was perfectly sane. And so they threw me to the dogs. You know, they perform a strip search when you're being admitted to prison. Needless to say, with me, they got a big surprise. They found a cock ring around Alfred's penis and his nuts. And they couldn't get it off because he had such big private parts. So they sent him to the hospital to see if they could remove it, but even they couldn't get it off. And finally, a metal specialist came, and they slid a piece of metal between Alfred's ring and his sex organs, and then he sawed it off. What a sad parting, I told the doctor. I've been wearing that sweet little band of metal for over 10 years. I visited Alfred Kirchner when he was in jail, and I had on my red coat with the flared skirt, and my hair was long and blonde. Who are you, and who do you intend to visit today? I am the wife of Alfred Kirchner, of course. My cell is too damn cold. My knees are brittle, like porcelain. I've brought you some warm clothes. Have you heard from Edward or Mina Malik? They're all afraid. Guilt by association. They don't want the Stasi investigating their lives too. Originally, I intended to burn all of Alfred's letters. But one day, I felt I'd be able to tell the truth. And today is that time. Here, written in his own hand on the back of eine Speisekarte, a menu from an old restaurant. This is my last will and testament. In the case of my death, I give my entire collection of clocks, records, cylinders, and everything else in my possession to Lothar Berfelder, also known as Charlotte von Mahlsdorf. Affectionately, Alfred Kirchner. The Stasi impounded everything that he owned. They took all his things. After his release from jail, I went to the church in Weissensee, and I found Alfred a place in their nursing home. One day, Alfred, you'll have your own flat again. No, never again. I don't want to collect anything anymore. One night, the telephone rang. It was Anna Krankenschwester, a nurse, on the line. You must come at once. Alfred died tonight. It's true. He left me everything. An old bill from the electric company, one he couldn't pay, and a picture of Alfred with an Electrola gramophone. Alfred was always more intelligent than I. Still, that's all he had left. Scraps of paper. Yes.
Now, Doug, that's one hell of a story. That midnight visit, Alfred's heroic offer to take the fall on her behalf, it's like some Cold War thriller written by Armistead Maupin. Trouble is, it doesn't scan with the facts in her file. Charlotte was already in deep with the Stasi and had been for at least a year. You think Alfred knew that? Just listen to this. We've asked the informant, codenamed Park, if he could gather evidence about the suspect Alfred Kirchner. Kirchner's had illegal transactions with American soldiers and was routinely offered Western currency in exchange for illicit goods. We have, of course, granted Park full immunity. John, we can't go looking to the Stasi file for facts. Those agents had quotas to fill, supervisors to impress. One entry contradicts the next. Unfortunately, the informant Park is poorly suited for covert operations. He is too easily distracted by old furniture. After 48 months of service, mountains of paperwork, and numerous visits to the Grundenzeit Museum, he has yielded nothing useful. And so, we have decided to terminate our association. I went back to Mahlsdorf, file in hand. Charlotte, I know this is difficult. And I know I'm an American from thousands of miles away. I didn't even know what the Cold War was until it ended. So I have no right to sit in judgment. But about Alfred Kirchner, his arrest? Yes, of course. I made a sweater for Alfred when he was in prison. My hands have laid brick. They have carved walnut. But for Alfred, they learned how to knit. He was my friend. Should Charlotte von Mahlsdorf be required to relinquish the Medal of Honor? That question is on the minds of Germans everywhere today, as news of Charlotte's Stasi involvement continued to dominate headlines. Conservative politician Marcus Kaufmann. It's terrible. If anyone suffered because of her cooperation, if a human price was paid, then of course she should be stripped of the medal. It's a civic honor, not a badge of shame. Umbert's University student Ulrich Lipstick.
My friends and I, we think it's stupid to take away the medal. We shouldn't even look at Charlotte's Stasi file. We should just burn them. Finger pointing is pointless. It doesn't unify, it only tears people apart. Outspoken political dissonant Josef Rudiker. I spent 2 years in the Stasi prison. They dislocated my shoulders from my sockets. They forced a catheter up my urinary tract and filled it with alcohol. And still, I uttered no one's name but my own. Complicity in this country should always be treated as a criminal act. Hasn't the 20th century taught us that much? The medal had been revoked only once before, when a previous recipient revealed he'd formerly been a member of the SS. Good evening, Deutschland, and welcome to the Ziggy Flus Show. I'm Ziggy Flus. Now, among tonight's special guests, the tiny grossmatter with the great big secret, Berlin's own tranny granny, Charlotte von Mahlsdorf. Good evening, Charlotte. Guten Abend. Now, you've been on the talk show circuit. You're used to the red-hot glare of studio lights. Yes, but you still don't own a television, am I correct? Now, if I want to look at myself, I look in the mirror, yeah? Wunderschön, wunderschön, eine gute Antwort. Now, tell me, are the rumors true? Have you really decided to move to Sweden? Yes, I was in Stockholm on a tour for my book, meine Selbstbiography, and the people, they were very kind to me. But what about the furniture? Hey, all those Gundenzeit goodies? Any plans to open a new museum in Scandinavia? Yes, of course. An old friend of mine heard that I was leaving town. She said to me, you can transplant an old tree. I told her, I am not a tree. I am a flower. And I always carry my flower pot with me. But Berlin's the city that made you a star. How can you leave her behind? I'm afraid that there's too much violence here. Not just on television, am I correct? A short time ago, we had a garden party in my museum. Almost 1,800 people, yeah? We played Donna Summer on the hi-fi. And everyone was dancing and singing under paper lanterns. And I heard a window smash in my basement, a rock. The brown plague had come back again. Kristallnacht once more. I read about it. Sure, front page of the Morgan Post. Your museum was vandalized, correct? The neo-Nazis knew that I was a homosexual. They came over the wall, 30 of them, with the flare guns and the gas pistols. The gays were all cowards running inside, but the lesbians stayed to fight. And my friend Sylvia, she was in the cellar trying to shut the door, and she got a gas pistol in the eye. Her retina was damaged. And I was coming from the cellar with an old pickaxe, and a skinhead met me on the stair. He had a swastika tattooed on his arm, yes? Hitler forgot to shove you in an oven in Sachsenhausen. And I swung the blade in the old banister, splitting it open like a sapling, yeah? And then the police came, and the young men scattered. No one was arrested, no one went to jail. And my own Victrola, it was smashed, broken. Glass was everywhere. Young people today, it's bad, isn't it? They're hurting, they're disillusioned. It's no excuse. No, you can't make excuses, can you? Nein, niemals. Anti-Semitism has come back. So has homophobia. Every day, new threats. Keep talking, Charlotte, and I'll move to Ibiza or maybe Mykonos, right? Now, Charlotte, you know Ziggy has to ask, huh? Your flight from Berlin happens to coincide with recent news reports about your Stasi involvement. Some of your critics suggest you'd rather skip towns and face a tarnished reputation here at home. Yes, of course. In Mahlsdorf, my museum had 23 rooms. In Sweden, I will have only 8. But that's good for a woman my age. Less furniture to dust. Fantastic, Charlotte. Wirklich fantastic. You'll come back and visit us again, won't you? Dankeschön. We'll be back after a short break with American singing sensation David Hasselhoff. Oh-ho! Thank you, Charlotte. Excuse me, Karl Hennig, journalist, Berlin. You say you murdered your father. Has anyone inquired after his death certificate? Court records from your trial? Pardon me. Please, meine Otto is the driver. He is waiting. To date, I found nothing to confirm your claim. In the war, such records, they were lost, yes? Flying through the air like burning leaves. Surely, Black in New York City, why do you suppose the public accepted your story with so little scrutiny? Please, I am old, so old. I am tired. Daisuke Yamagashi, Tokyo, is it true your family considers you a public embarrassment, that even your own brother refutes your claims? Mark Finley, San Francisco, we as homosexuals have been systematically denied our own history, our own past. Perhaps that's why we're so eager to embrace a martyr, even when she's made of glass. Pradeep Gupta, Bombay, is it true that you're really a woman after all? Clive Twembley, London, did you know that the very man responsible for your medal recently told the newspaper, and I quote, whenever Charlotte von Mahlsdorf opens her mouth to yawn, she's already begun to lie. When I was almost 40 years old, my mother, she was doing the laundry, yes? Hanging my stockings and my garters on the line. And she turned to me and she said, Lochen, it's all very well to play dress up, but now you've grown into a man. When will you marry? And I said to her, never, my dear Mutter. Ich bin meine eigene Frau. I am my own wife. So, at the end of the day, what have I got? A shoebox full of scratchy audio tapes, a used copy of Die Transvestiten, enormous personal bias, not to mention my German sucks. I say you go with what's in plain, old-fashioned black and white. The press reports, the file, but I need to believe in her stories as much as she does. I need to believe that a little boy in her mother's house coat survived stormtroopers, that she navigated a path between the two most repressive regimes the Western world has ever known, the Nazis and then the communists, in a pair of heels. I need to believe that things like that are true, that they can happen, in the world. So what are you going to do? I don't have a clue. You know, I'm curating her right now, and I don't have the faintest idea of what to edit and what to preserve. Tape 8, March 4th, 1993. Charlotte, what do you do when a piece loses its luster? Are you ever tempted to strip the wood or replace the veneer? I did not refinish the pieces, no. Nicks and cuts, stains, cracks. These things, they are proof of its history. And so you must leave it. The furniture in my museum is more than 100 years old. People sat on it, slept on it, wrote letters on it, ate from it. People tried to burn it in Nazi times, in Stasi times, and still, it is standing. Charlotte von Mahlsdorf did, in fact, move to Sweden, where she lived for almost 7 years. But in April of 2002, she decided to take a holiday to fly back to Berlin, a homecoming of sorts. while visiting her beloved Grundenzeit Museum, she suffered a heart attack. Alone, in a garden of gramophone horns, she died. A few days later, after her funeral, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. I recognized her familiar script, but no letter. Instead, she enclosed a single photograph, sepia with age. She's a child, a boy. Lothar Beerfelder at 10 years old. He's at the zoo in Berlin. He's wearing a sailor suit with a blue collar and matching cuffs. His ears are sticking out at an angle. He's got a very adorable smile. He's sitting on a bench. And on either side of him are two lions. Cubs, sure, but they're still as big as he is. And they're not fond of posing either. Their eyes are dangerously alert. At any moment, they might revolt, they might scratch or bite. But Lothar has one arm around each lion, and they're resting their forepaws on his knees.
Forward with Charlotte von Mahlsdorf, February 2nd, 1993. I'm on the way to Mahlsdorf to meet with her now.
This is the first room of the museum, and this here is a little phonograph, and on this record you see the picture of Thomas Alva Edison, and he was the inventor of